Hey guys, my name is Tara. I am going to bring you a really short practice for getting some movement into your day, whether you're practicing first thing in the morning, whether you like to practice at night before bed. And this practice can be used for anything, but geared towards if you're going to be sitting a lot or you have sat a lot already. So getting a little bit of length, a little bit of movement, some mobility back into the spine. Amazing. So let's go ahead and get moving. Find yourself to a nice open space that you might have. We're going to go ahead and start standing. Go ahead and give yourself a really low hug. Ideally, not just here. If you can, wrap to the sides, go for it. If for some reason you have crazy long arms and you can reach the back, even better. We're gently going to take the hands on the low ribs and pull them upward. Almost try to create a wrinkle in the side flesh. But what that will do is it'll also lift the ribs a little bit away from the hips, and that's what we want. Gently find some movement right and left. Letting the hips root back. Notice that the knees are a little bit bent. If your pelvis is locked, it's a bit hard to move the ribs. So try a soft bend in the knees. Bringing the knees forward. Press the femur bones back, the upper femur bones back, and then try your movement again. Lift up through the right shoulder, the right armpit. Exhale through center. Try the opposite side, lifting up. Let the head move with the rest of the spine. Once more each side. All right, bringing your weight to center, keep that idea of lifting up, especially the back bottom ribs, the area that gets so compressed while we're sitting all the way around the core here. As you release the hands, extend them forward, wider than your shoulders and slightly higher than the shoulders. Continue that same movement in the ribs, lifting up on one side, arcing to the other. Opposite side, reaching up. Continue one more each side. Find your way back to center, sip the knees forward, hips back, and now reach up as if you're trying to grab fruit off of a tree. Reaching up. Reach up through the left, through the right. Exhale, step your feet a little bit wider than your mat if you're working with a mat. Bring the hands to the knees, drop the head, and lift the back ribs up. So instead of sinking the ribs down towards the earth, instead lift them up, almost concaving the upper back. Again, move the ribs right and left. See if you can keep this, and now push the femur bones back. Keep the ribs lifted. Look more in front of you now instead of straight down. Exhale, twist to the left, dipping the right shoulder down. Lengthen the left side of the neck. Bend the knees. And then lengthen the legs. One more. Exhale, bend the knees. Inhale, lengthen the legs. Opposite twist, the left shoulder dips to the center. Lengthen the right side of the neck. Bending the knees. Inhale, lengthen, not straighten. Bend once more, and then lengthen. Gently bend your knees, bring your hands all the way down, and then bring them into a fist with the palms pointing towards the feet. The center knuckle of the finger is on the mat, and then just slide the hips right and left. Pull the hands towards the knees, and if you have really tight hamstrings, instead of lengthening the legs and rounding the back, bend the knees and lengthen through the belly, through the low back. You can walk your hands forward, bend the knees even further. If this is stressful, if you're feeling stress in your back, another great option is a block here. Give yourself more height, more freedom. If you don't have a block, a chair, even a countertop, if you're like, oh my God, my hamstrings, place your hands on the counter and just work here, moving the hips right and left, okay? You don't have to be all the way down on the floor. All right, but now you do. So go ahead and bend the knees, bring your way back to your mat, and bring your hands all the way down to your mat. Step your feet to your mat, and then bring the hands as wide as your mat so your pinkies touch the very edge, giving yourself space. Bring the feet pretty wide as well. Bend the knees and pedal out the knees right and left. Reach the ribs forward and arc to the side just as we did standing. Can you lengthen the back of the neck? Can you lengthen the belly? Let the knees, the hips, the ribs, the shoulders, the neck, and the head all move. Go ahead and twist your toes to the left. Release your right foot and bring your right knee to your mat. Untuck the back toe so the top of the foot is more on the mat. Exhale, slide the hips back. Bring your left hand to a dome and then right ear towards the right shoulder. Allow the ribs to pick up the left hand. Exhale, sliding back. Inhale, reach long. Exhale, one more. Inhale, expand. Pick up your right knee, place your right hip on your mat. Left fingertips come down and find little internal, almost snail-like movements. Can you picture a snail coming out of its shell? Move the ribs away from the hips. A little bit awkward the first time you do this. I encourage you to try this practice more than once. It's short. It's sweet. You can repeat it. The more you kind of repeat a pose, the more it begins to make sense. And this is one of those. It took me a second to understand this pose. Bring your left hand in and go ahead and slide the right hand to the front left corner of your mat, diving down, arm and head first. Let the left knee stack on top of the right. Take a moment, slide the hips back a little bit further. Bring the left elbow down. Pull the elbows and knees towards each other and see if you can lengthen around this midsection of the body. Reach the right arm a little bit further out. Bring the left hand to the left thigh. Press them into each other. Hover the left leg. Yeah, press the knee and the hand into each other. Let the belly be really long and spacious here. Even float the head away from the shoulders. The entire spine is lengthening. Exhale, hips root back. Inhale, lengthen. Bring the right hand to the right side of the head for support. Notice my head's not in the air. My knee isn't in the air. So bring the body parallel as if you were standing. Let it be even. Left and right side of the neck equal. Left and right leg equal. Bring the left hand to the head. Now try a gentle bicycle here. Focusing on, as you bicycle, can you let this be a full body pulse? It's not just one side of the body doing everything. So nice. Yeah, breathe. Can you make more space around the neck? Widen the shoulders. Pull the head with the hands. Use the hands. Pull the head away from the shoulders. Breathe. Last one. Gently drop the head back. Roll your way onto your back. Find your way to center with the back of the body if at all possible. Press your feet into your mat. Lift the belly. Hover the hips and then slide the hips right and left, dragging the hips, almost brushing them along the mat. Bring the hands to the floor near the head like a pull-up bar. Pull the hands energetically towards the shoulders. Lift the chin away from the chest and see again if you can find this internal length. It's not going to look like much. So if I do nothing here, if I just kind of like do nothing, as opposed to really finding length, it's not going to look a huge amount different to you. If you have a really keen eye, you might be able to see it. It's more this internal feeling of length and space, creating more space between each and every disc. Find center with the hips. Place the hips down, but leave a natural curve in your low back. Slide the feet out. And then the slowest windshield wiper, knees to the left. Let the right hip reach back towards your mat. Press into your right inner foot, left outer foot. Little gentle pulses here. Exhale, slide the hips back. Inhale, find space, find length. Inhale, knees rise up. Very slow windshield wiper to the right. Take your time. Press into your left inner foot, right outer foot. Reach the left hip back, and then again, try some soft, subtle pulses on your mat. Press into your feet. Reach the head away from the shoulders, the ribs away from the hips. Making your way all the way back to center. Extend your left arm and roll all the way to your left side. Take a moment here. Instead of flattening and rounding the spine, use your right hand, push into the mat, and then reach the hips really far back. It might even be a foot. It might be further than a foot. Maybe 16 inches back behind you, very far, not just 1 inch. Getting the spine long and curvy. Bring the right elbow down now. Instead of the hand, the elbow comes all the way down. Breathe into the space between the shoulder blades. Press the elbow down, pull the elbow and knees towards each other, and begin to find length around the core. Bring the right hand to the right thigh now. Push them into each other, keeping the legs parallel to each other. Reach the head towards the top of your mat. Get really long, little pulses here. Bring the left hand to the left side of the head for support. And again, notice the top of the head isn't in the air. The top of the knee, the right knee isn't in the air. Instead, the body is pretty parallel to each other. Sweep the right hand to the right side of the head. Now bicycle right, and let this bicycle ripple up through the ribs, all the way up through the spine. Even lengthen the neck, widen the shoulders, push the left shoulder into the floor. Imagine pushing the right shoulder up towards the sky, but keep the elbows parallel. Lengthening the crown of the head towards the top of your mat as the tailbone reaches back behind you. One more. Exhale, rely on your left arm. Extend your left arm. Place your right hand on the mat now. And then we're going to place the right foot on the mat as we come up. So you don't have to place it there now, but that's kind of where it's going. Use your right hand and lift the right ribs up. Make your way up to a seat on your left hip. Feel free to pick up the left hip, set it back down, press into your right foot. And now, instead of sinking down towards the mat, sinking into this left shoulder, push away from the floor, lift up from underneath the armpit. Feel free to move the hand if it's too far out. It's meant to be quite at a diagonal, really, but expand the back of the ribs, press the elbows wide. Can you make more space between the shoulder blades? Let the right side of the neck be as long as possible. Little snail-like pulses forward and back. Gently press into your left side. Lift up to your left knee. The left foot's off back behind the mat at a diagonal. Untuck the toes so the top of the foot's not on the mat. Instead, the top of the foot's on the mat instead of the bottom. All right, little pulses, slide the hips back and wide, and then let the ribs pick up the right arm, reaching forward and long. Exhale, slide the hips back. Inhale, reach, expand. One more. Exhale, sliding back. Inhale, reach. Place the right hand down. Make sure the hands are about the width of the mat. Press into your right foot and lift your left foot back to your mat. Pedal out the hips, the knees, move the hips right and left. Press the elbows wide, lengthen the head forward towards the top of your mat. Twist the toes to the left, bend the knees, and then inhale, lift up through center like a rainbow with the hips. Twist the toes to the right, little bend in the knees, and then rainbow a couple more times, right and left. You can bend the knees deeply, sitting low, or you can leave the bend to be very small. So your decision. Finding your way back to center. Bend the knees a lot. way more than you'd think. Our goal is to learn to bend the knees instead of hinging from the spine. Step your feet wider than your mat. Reach the hips right and left. If you like to block here before, grab your block, come a little higher. Walk your hands back. Try to keep the belly really long. Bring your hands a little bit closer, and then eventually one hand at a time comes up to the knees. Bend the knees, sit back, and then inhale, rise up. Bring one hand at a time to the back of the head, just like we did lying on the mat. And then rise up, exhale, sit back, inhale, rise. Without looking down, you know where the floor is. Without looking down, step one foot at a time to your mat. Now lift the left elbow, bend the knees, sit back, lift the right elbow. Once more, each side, lift and spread the ribs apart. Let the ribs expand, and if you can imagine the ribs almost like fingers, let the fingers move apart, away from each other, giving space for the ribs. Imagine that same idea with each and every vertebrae of the spine, lifting and lengthening. Option 2, let the head drop and round through the upper back. So not really through the lower back, just through the upper back. Keeping and maintaining the lumbar curve of the spine. Bring the hands down, cross the forearms on top of each other here. So let's do the left forearm on top of the right. Yeah, and if you want, you can press the pinkies into each other. The left forearm pushes down as the right one lifts up. Bring the elbows wide. And then push the arms to the right, ribs to the left. And then go ahead and switch. Switching right and left, you can begin to lift the arms up higher and higher with each slide of the ribs. Gently, maybe lifting all the way up. Let the knees bend. Let the legs pulse, the spine pulses. Finding center, switch, right arm on top, push it down, lift the left arm up. Let that push of the arms into each other lift the spine and decompress even more. Exhale, float the arms back down without compressing the spine. Cool, shake it out. Do any final anything that you need. And hopefully you feel like a little bit taller, a little bit longer, a little bit easier in your body. Reach out with any questions. I love to answer questions if you have like injuries going on, if something like felt off. Most of the time it's like the tiniest little adjustment and then it feels amazing. So if you did not feel amazing, try it again, repeat, try again, and don't ever do anything that hurts, but reach out if something was just like, I don't get this one. That's okay. All right, have a wonderful, really long, amazing rest of your day.